Thanks very much for speaking to me. How are
I'm
you
very
doing?
good, thank you. Yeah, cheers for having me.
So yeah, I was just congratulations on the new album. I was just listening to it again now I've listened to it a few times over now. So it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It's very different I mean, it's very much the slow readers club, but there's something very different about it. Before I actually go into the sound of the new album, can you explain to me a little bit about kind of the underlying themes for this new album? Do you actually when you sit down to write the lyrics and I imagine the lyrics and the music separately, do you sit down with a kind of a specific underlying theme in mind for the songs? Was that the case with this one?
Yeah, but it usually works on a song by song basis. From a lyrical perspective, I was mainly very conscious that the world's in a horrible place socially, economically, getting over COVID and all that kind of thing, and the sort of dystopian sort of visions that I had in previous records and the sort of existential angst and all that kind of stuff was maybe a bit indulgent this time around, and I wanted to sort of explore more positive lyrical territory. I mean, there's still angst-ridden stuff on the record, but yeah, there's a few more shafts of light than we've had before, and I sort of consciously forced myself to get some more positive thoughts and messaging in there. But yeah, sonically, it's more synth driven than previous records, but that wasn't something that we sat down and decided. It was just track by track. They tended to be stacked up more as synth tunes than guitar tunes. Just how it turned out, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, talking the way that it's a lot more kind of synth centric. The album it kicks off with it says modernizes the first track and it says it's time to up your game, boy. Was that something that was that something about you as a band as well that you felt it was time to up your game, maybe kind of sonically and try new things?
There's a bit, I guess there's a bit of that. That was one of the levels it was working on. It kind of came about lyrically when we had to go back to day jobs basically, because once COVID had stopped us touring for a period of time and stuff. We needed to work again, and it's just about the sort of keeping up with the modern world, the rise of AI, that kind of thing, and constantly needing to learn and adapt and provide for your family and all the usual normal stuff that people deal with, but I think sometimes can get on top of you. That's where that track was coming from, really.
Right. I mean, obviously, this is the first album that you released two albums kind of 3 years ago, not just one pre-COVID, literally weeks before COVID, and then the second one you recorded it using WhatsApp and kind of these different methods to keep up with the times. No, what was it like coming back this time to write songs and probably not having as much chance to play them live and to test the waters with fans and friends alike? The people that usually play to beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like with the lockdown album we did, that brought sort of different approach to writing into play, really, because we'd normally, I mean, we might come in with ideas, but normally just jam the tune out in practice room and write together. But 91 Days, because we were separated, there was a lot more done at home. Like Kurt would layer several layers of guitar, for example, or I might put down a keyboard part and a vocal melody and demo it and send that over. So there was a bit more opportunity to finesse our individual parts before. Whereas when you're jamming, it can be, like, certainly from my perspective, it can be very basic because I'm not the greatest at playing and singing at the same time. So yeah, that was different, and I think that we took that through basically partly because we were working again, so we weren't in the rehearsal studio every day writing. So we were just finding pockets of time. So there was still that remote approach going on to the writing process, as well as the more traditional jamming in the room together. In terms of testing it out to people, it's unusual. I think as we were building up, when we were writing the first couple of albums, you would be touring those more extensively and introducing new tracks into the set and seeing how they played out live. But well, this one, none of them have been played live yet, so yeah, I guess it is more nerve-wracking. I've not thought of it until now.
Sorry,
it's right, fine. But yeah, I mean, from the feedback we've had so far from people that have heard it has been really positive, and I think it stands up fine with our previous work, and like you've said, moves us on a little bit as well, which is important. So yeah, I'm hopeful that people will enjoy it. Our fans that we've got currently, and then hopefully wins us over new people too. We'll see though.
Yeah, I mean, talking about moving on, obviously, unfortunately, you've had to change. I mean, I say unfortunately. Unfortunately, your previous producer has not been able to. He's not carried on in the music business, so you've had to change producers. How has having a new producer, Joe Cross, come on board? Was that a decision on your part? I think I read that your management also had quite a bit to
Yeah,
do with
that's
that.
right. Yeah,
And how has that affected the? Sorry, how has that affected kind of the way that you've approached the writing and recording this time around?
Yeah, well, we demoed most of the tracks, if not all of the tracks, at Hope Mill Studios in Manchester. Can't remember the name of the guy that engineered it, but yeah, we recorded the demos anyway before we sought out producers, and there's a few that were sort of in the mix, and then Joe seemed like the strongest candidate to us. So yeah, we ended up working with him. There was a week of pre-production where he sort of worked through the arrangements with us, and we have established like a sonic template for the album. So like he'd suggest like different synth sounds and things like that based on what we'd brought in. So yeah, that was interesting. We sort of, before we recorded the album proper, we had a sense of what the finished product was going to sound like. So that was pretty cool. And there's a different edge to it, like the sounds wise, and and his instinct for arrangements is different than Phil's was as well. So yeah, people will hear a difference from that point of view as well, I suspect, as well as the songs subject matter being different and the style of songs being different than what we've done before.
And obviously you've got as well as the album coming out, you've got the supporting tour shortly afterwards. How are you approaching that? Because I imagine because it's a slightly different kind of sound, and you've got a new producer, and he helps you kind of arrange it in a different fashion than you usually record an album. How is that play? How will that play out for you and for the fans who go to the new shows?
We've been rehearsing for a few months now. It seems to be slotting in quite well. We'll probably play five or six off the new record, and then mix it up with tracks from previous albums as well. So a few of the sort of standard old favorites that people will be used to seeing us, and then mixing up other tracks from previous albums. So yeah, there'll be a lot. I mean, it's always difficult, isn't it, when there's a new record? I mean, we have toured before when the record has sort of dropped as we're out there live. So that's very challenging sometimes when you've got 4 or 5 tracks to introduce to people cold. But this time they'll have had a week or so, I think, to learn the tunes and stuff. So it should be all right.
I mean, speaking of that, you said that you haven't been able to play any of these tunes, the new songs off the new album live in front of an audience. What are your hopes and what are your expectations? Are there any tracks that you're kind of pretty certain that should go down really well as kind of crowd pleasers?
Yeah, well, I think the first couple of singles should be. I mean, the response online has been very, very positive to both the tracks that are out there in the world already. So I would imagine they'll go down well live. There's another track on the album called Afterlife, which is sort of a big ballad, anthemic ballad that's in the vein of some other things we've done in the past that have always been popular. So I think that will be embraced, I would think. And then, yeah, there's more electronic and Lay Your Troubles on Me and Forget About Me. They're quite cool synth tunes. How Could You Know is like a really soft, well, not really soft, but a fairly soft tune with a piano riff, which I really like, which would be a good sort of more chilled out moment in the set. Yeah, there's a lot of, as always, we try and have a bit of light and shade and variety on the record, and that will bring that through to the live show as well.
Would it be fair to say that some of the vocals, there's quite a wider range of vocals this time round? I certainly felt that, and there's 2 or 3 songs on here that you really do kind of go really high and really low. There's a lot wider range than on most of the songs on the previous albums.
Yeah, I've not been massively conscious of that, but yeah, I'm fond of falsetto as a general rule anyway. But there's certainly different treatments. I think modernized, like the vocal melody is different to what I've done before. Like the sort of the rhythm to the speech of it, or the rhythm to the melody is different. So yeah, I try and explore different ways of singing all the time. rightly or wrongly, I don't know whether like I've got a signature voice, a signature summer voice or not, but I like trying different things.
No, but it works really well. The falsetto that you do sing on this, there's a couple of singles on there. There's a couple of tracks on that really works really well. Yeah, I really enjoyed them.
Oh, thank you, man.
Must be pretty hectic because I mean, obviously, because of COVID and lockdown, I read that I don't know if all of you or most of you had to go back to the normal day jobs whilst keeping with the music. Now, how have you managed to balance and juggle all that now? Are you able to, or do you want to give up your day jobs, or are you still carrying on with those? How are you managing to juggle it all now?
Yeah, I mean, if it becomes viable to give up the day jobs, like financially, and we will do, I'm sure. We've just got to get into a position where there's enough things in the diary and cash flow makes that happen. I mean, we had bounce back loans and all those kind of things as the band during the COVID period. So it's like it's just a tough one to navigate, but we'll get there. I would think, but we'll work in this hybrid way for as long as we need to. I would imagine we've been fine so far. It's just a case of booking holidays off from work and around the tour.
You've got your UK tour, but you've also got some European dates, so you're going to have to take quite a bit of time off now to accommodate. No.
Yeah. Got understanding employees. I mean, I personally freelance anyway, so I work, but I just say when I'm available, But the other, like a couple of the other guys in the band are salaried employees, so it's a bit more complicated for those guys. But yeah, just keeping the dream alive and doing the best we can, and keeping
a laptop on the side just in case. Yeah, while you're on tour.
yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I won't keep it any longer. I appreciate your time, Aaron. The album's fantastic. I can't wait for people to listen to it. I wish you the best of luck with the album, and hopefully get to see you at a gig sometime soon. There's no dates. I'm in Bilbao in the north of Spain. So
wow, bloody hell, didn't realise.
Fingers crossed there might be a Spanish date sometime soon.
Oh,
I hope to catch you at a gig sometime soon.
Oh, brilliant. Cheers.
All right, cheers for your time. Take care. All the best then. Take care. Cheers, Aaron.